What was your favorite book to read as a child?
My favorite book to read as a child was The Monster at the End of This Book. It was a story told by Grover. I always read it because it was just a lot of fun, and it scared me every time.
And what's your favorite book to read aloud now?
I have two. I have one that's called Giraffe and a Half, and it's kind of a poem. And it's a lot of fun because you kind of get going. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of fast-paced, but the kids really get into it. And then the other one is by Dr. Seuss, Diffin' Doofer Day. It's all about kind of the SOL test and how, even though you don't always think you're learning what you should be, no matter what, it's kind of like Occoquan. We're always preparing you for what you really do need to know, even though you don't know need to know it.
What's your favorite book to read aloud now?
My favorite book to read aloud right now is The Remarkable Farkle McBride, written by John Lithgow. It's about this young boy named Farkle McBride who is trying so hard to figure out which musical instrument strikes his fancy the best, but he's having a really hard time because he's not liking any of them. So he's trying to figure out which one he likes the best.
And what was your favorite book to read aloud as a kid?
My favorite one to read aloud had to be either Stella Luna, about the bats, or about Owen, who was obsessed with toting around his big yellow blankie, and everyone always teased him about having his big yellow blankie until he found a great solution to keep his blankie, and everyone still supported him for having it.
As a kid?
I remember I had so many favorite books, but my favorite book was Henry and Beezus by Beverly Cleary. In fact, all her books, Ramona the Pest, all of them are delightful, but I remember Henry and Beezus as being my favorite. Well, I love to read any book now, but the one that I've read several times that kids seem to really love is The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, about the Hardman kids and how awful they were and how a Christmas pageant changed their lives.
My favorite book now is like the Elephant and Piggy books, like the pigeon books. But as a kid, I want to say, you know what, Arthur. You know why? Because I went to, there was, I think it was like a book, I don't know, it was like a book festival in D.C. and Mark Brown was there. So I was obsessed with the show Arthur. So I was like, oh my gosh, I really need his signature. So I had a book, and then I went to the festival and he signed it for me. So, and I have it still. So it's like very special to me. So I love Arthur books. As a teenager, like a preteen, I loved the Princess Diaries series, all the Meg Cabot books.
When you were a kid?
My favorite book when I was a kid was anything from The Babysitter's Club, I would say. When I was learning to read, I really liked those.
And then your favorite book to read aloud now?
My favorite book to read aloud now is any of the No David series because the kids really get excited.
My favorite book growing up was when I was in high school, the Harry Potter series released, and I really liked the first one, and then I read through all those, and I really enjoyed those as well.
Favorite kid book? What do you do with an idea?
The one I just read, because it works really well with the artwork.
What was your favorite book as a kid?
My favorite book was the Goosebumps series.
Okay, and
I love those books. I read them all the time. And my favorite from the Goosebumps series was The Haunted Mask.
And what's your favorite book to read aloud now?
Ooh, I have so many, but my students love the series There Was an Old Lady Who Ate a Fly, or There Was an Old Lady Who Ate Something. My students love that series.
So, I had a lot of favorite books when I was a kid, but when I was in first grade, I loved to read Goosebumps, and my favorite was Say Cheese, and it was, some weird skeletons were on the cover, but it was kind of scary, but also really cool. Oh, and my favorite book to read aloud now is Skippy John Jones, because I love the Skippito Frisquito! He's a lot of fun.
My favorite book to read as a kid, I would say, was probably Little House on the Prairie books. My fourth grade teacher read those aloud to us, and I just fell in love with it. So.
And what's your favorite book to read aloud now?
I would say Charlotte's Web. We read that every year, and I cry every year.
What was your favorite book to read when you were a kid?
Well, I used to read a lot of fables, and there is one particular author that I like. He's Rafael Pombo, and he wrote many books for kids, such as El Pastorcito Mentiroso, cuentos como estos que leí hoy.
And what's your favorite book to read aloud now?
Now I really enjoy reading and rereading The Day the Crying Squid.